me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? I need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I've got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab.
You know we need them. We do. We need strategies. We need strategies for living. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, okay. I get it.
That?
I caught it. Little codependent answer there.
Oh, well.
Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. She is psychotherapist, PLPC Lauren Leon McMillian, and as you've already caught on, we are going to,
I read over your shoulder.
Yeah, you did. And there's another codependent behavior, I think. We've said here lately that we probably need to do more programs about codependency because it's almost become, over the last, 20, maybe 30 years, it's become almost psychobabble. It's overused and sometimes wrongly used, and so I think it'll help to have some clear definition of what the behaviors are.
Right, and I think it's important to note from the beginning, right, that it's not a diagnosis so much as a style.
You're not going to find
relating.
You're not going to find codependency in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. Your psychiatrist, if you go to a psychiatrist, is not going to give you a diagnosis of officially of codependency. He may tell you he or she may tell you you're acting codependently, but that's another thing. So, but the question that we're going to contemplate today is, what does that look like? What does the actual behavior look like? And so that's what's on taps today. Plus, when we come back, I have a major announcement.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's when we come back. Folks, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. And we appreciate our sponsors who make it all possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing and Learning RX. We train your brain. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of The Godfather, Alligator Italian Sausage, pretty good muffies too, SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. What is codependency? What the heck is it? What does it look like? We're going to put it under the magnifier when we come back here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem drab. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. I promised a major announcement.
You did.
Okay, so get the drum rolls ready.
Okay.
Okay. Get on the edge of your seat because Lefty Loops by Lauren is now open on Etsy.
Yes, that's true. Thank you. Yeah.
Tell us about Lefty Loops.
Oh gosh.
How would you describe your new adventure here?
Well, it's a new old adventure.
Yeah.
Because for a long time I've been, as you know, I love to crochet.
Yeah.
And in particular, I have found making animals to be incredibly one of my favorite things to do.
You've made one for each one of the grandkids, and there's 10 of them.
And
so.
each of the girls that I nannied for a long period of time, because I just enjoy the rhythm and the meditation of making them.
There's a lot of love and intention that goes into every character creation.
Every loop, if you will.
Every
right?
loop, yeah.
Because I enjoy, as I'm making them, to think about the person that I'm making them for in particular.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the intention that kind of goes into it. And so it's become a very meditative practice for me. But each time I've given one, and I've given them for baby showers too, people have said, "You need to open a shop. You need to sell these."
I've heard that said to you almost a gajillion times.
Well, at least as many times as I've given one away. I think.
Yeah.
And so But
you also get asked that question when we go someplace and people know what you've done and what you do.
Yeah.
When are you going to start selling these? Well, you're started.
I've started.
Yeah.
I've started. I've opened shop. It's
on Etsy.
And the easiest way, I guess, is to go to leftyloopsbylauren.etsy.com.
Yep.
And so you can kind of.
But if you go to Etsy and search,
I think it should
probably come up. Lefty Loops by Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also follow me on Facebook, because I've started that in addition.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, if you're interested in a slowly made, intentional animal for anybody in your life.
Now, they are handmade.
They are.
They are made with love, and it takes time. So
it does.
I would tell people this is not a price point that you're going to go into Kmart and get. There's no more Kmart anymore, but anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah, because you're supporting handmade, slow, intentional craft.
Right.
And they're heirlooms. Hopefully, that's the idea.
I think every single one of your creations that I've seen, Lauren, and by the way, I don't have one.
Well,
I haven't been given one, so let me codependently put that in so that we'll get to our topic today. But every single one that I have witnessed, been able to witness you creating, has been phenomenal.
Well, and it's been an interesting journey for me, because I've picked up and put down crochet over the years. And when I found making the animals, it just kind of clicked. And it didn't dawn on me until later that, of course, it made sense, because I, as a kid, loved my stuffed animals so much. Like, they meant so much to me.
Right.
And so to be able to create that feeling for somebody else is meaningful.
And these are, I would say, personal size. They're small enough to be held close.
Yes, most of them are.
They're not giant teddy bears or anything like that.
I do make some that are kind of more lovey styled.
Right.
That are, but they all are also have hand embroidered eyes. That was another feature I wanted to include.
And they're fantastic.
Well, because I think they look better, but also because hopefully
they're safe.
They're child safe.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the safety eyes can cause a problem with babies.
Right.
So
exactly. So congratulations,
thank you,
Lauren. And I know you have spent a lot of time diving in, learning about Etsy and things like. Once you decided to pursue this, and it's been fun watching as you have learned the various aspects of
it's been
opening your own little shop.
It's been an exciting journey.
Yeah.
So I hope it touches some people. That's the idea.
So today we're going to talk about a topic that we have mentioned here lately with some regularity, and we have said, we need to do some programs on, codependency because the word codependent and codependency has almost been overused in the last few years. I'm not even sure. I went into practice in 91, so what? That's 30 some odd years ago. And the word was in existence then, but I don't think it had been in existence long.
Okay.
Melody Beatty, I think I'm remembering correctly, wrote a book called Codependency No More. I don't think she was the first one to coin the term, but I know she was early on in the writing of it.
Okay.
As I remember, Codependent No More was a pretty good book and still is available. But just like a lot of things do in the self-help arena,
It's taken on a life
it
of
takes
its
on a
own.
life. Narcissism
Yeah,
has done that
yes,
now.
Absolutely.
And we've got to do some programs on narcissism and narcissistic behavior because it seems everybody's labeled narcissist now. And the truth of the matter is, it's a very it's a very small percentage of the population that actually meets the criteria.
Yeah. Well,
So
it reminds me too of something my chemistry professor used to say, which is there's 10 to the something of everything and everything.
yeah, there
right.
you go.
And so to some degree, we all have
narcissistic
we all
behaviors.
have- and we all have some codependent, right,
behaviors.
right.
But, to the extreme, then it can be codependent. So behaviors like I avoid conflict. I keep reducing my sense of self. Those things can indicate codependency.
So could we broadly, just for the clarity of the show, kind of define codependency more as like a pattern of prioritizing other people's needs over your own?
Okay. All right. That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's when your own identity depends on another. It becomes externalized.
All right.
It's something outside of you.
Yeah, exactly. And let's contrast that to what a healthy relationship is about establishing balance between caring for others and caring for oneself.
Yeah.
We say often the most important relationship that any of us have, it sponsors every relationship we're in. It's the relationship with ourselves. Now,
The way I think about it is it's a healthy interdependence.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you often do the illustration of two overlapping circles.
Right.
The
and that's not my, I picked that up from maybe Melody Beatty or
Okay.
somebody years ago.
Because I think what can often happen is we go to two extremes, right? If we are not modeled healthy relationships and we encounter trauma or attachment wounding early on, we can go to extremes of either codependency, where, the visual is both of those circles overlapping,
Right.
or on the other end, hyper independence,
Right.
where the two circles can't connect at all. Right?
But if you think of the two overlapping circles, almost one overlapping entirely, and then something happens to the relationship, erase the most of that circle, and that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm a sliver of what I used to be. And so that's not a healthy relationship, because again, a healthy relationship is a balance between caring for oneself and caring for others. And when there's an imbalance, codependency can arise in individuals excessively prioritizing other people's needs and neglecting their own well-being. See?
Yeah.
So
it's like that hyper focus outward,
right.
but a disconnection on the inside, inward.
And think of what you're doing there. It's a reliance upon others for something that you need to be doing for yourself, your identity, and your own acceptance. If I outsource that, to use that term from business, if I outsource that to other people, then I'm in danger of
losing myself.
myself.
Well, you've already lost yourself. But
Yeah. So that's really a lot of what codependency is. We're going to go through today. I mean, it's not just poor boundaries. It's not just engaging in enabling behaviors, although that's certainly a part of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
When we use the term enabling behaviors, I want to be clear on what that is. Enabling behaviors is you can clearly identify a problem with someone you're in relationship with, and yet there is a kind of a conspiracy to help to not get that person any help.
Right.
The classic example is someone in the house has an alcohol problem,
yes, or a substance
or a substance
addiction. And I
yeah.
think that's often where we think of codependent relationships. Well, it's only in relationships where there's an addicted person.
Yeah.
And that's not really always the case. It doesn't have to be a substance or alcohol.
Not at all. So what we're going to attempt to do today is we're going to attempt to illustrate, if you will. So we're going to give some examples of codependency, and I think we have about 7 of them, and we'll see what happens. We'll be back. More strategies for living to come. Stay right with us.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies, 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 strategies for living radio.
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren, Leon McMillian, David McMillian. Talking about codependency today, and we're going to jump in here and give some examples. So, again, when a topic gets used and overused in self-help and psych literature and all of that, it can lose. It can become what I call psychobabble, and what I mean by that is it begins to lose its meaning. Right. If everybody's a narcissist, and it seems like if you read Facebook, these days, everybody's in relationship with narcissists. Well, if that's the case, then there is no such thing as narcissist. Right. And the same with codependency. If everybody's codependent, then there is no such thing as codependency, because what we're looking for is something that's out of the ordinary, out of the normal, right?
Yeah.
And that is exactly the way that actually, diagnostics are determined by some people may know what I'm talking about, some people don't, the normal bell curve.
Right.
But any population that you look at and you plot is going to actually form a bell. And the vast majority of people are going to hang out in the middle, right?
Right.
And what we call standard deviations from the middle is called the mean. What we call standard deviations from the mean, the vast majority of people are going to be between one standard deviation below the mean and to one standard deviation above the mean. That's not everybody, but that's the beginning place, if you will. All right. So all of that to go into how would I know that I may be codependent myself, or I may be in relationship with someone that's codependent? One of the things is a fear of rejection. Yeah,
which totally makes sense, because within a codependent relationship, your identity completely relies on another.
Yeah.
Therefore, if that person rejects you, you completely lose who you are. Right? It's that sliver analogy that you were giving in the last segment.
Yeah. So with this strong fear rejection, we're constantly seeking
Yep.
approval and constantly trying to get self-validation.
And people please. Yeah.
Yeah, that certainly the fear is going to manifest into people pleasing. And, what have you got there? Well, you don't have a real self.
Right.
What you've got is somebody pretending to be somebody.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're guessing at whoever they think is they should be pleasing.
Right.
They're guessing at what they want and what would make them happy.
Right. You just start editing yourself
Yeah.
in order to stay or to feel chosen, right? And at that point, authenticity feels dangerous.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, we talk a lot about this on strategies, but I think that a lot of times, and I hope I don't want to offend anybody. I know I'm probably going to, but you see this a lot in religions. Because
Good point.
other gatherings too. But how many times do I enter a religion and I'm given kind of this is the ideal
moral guidelines,
right? And then you begin to, when you show up at a religious function, you begin to act that way according to
Right.
the guidelines. And I might see you someplace else, and you're totally not acting that way. Well, that's acting in a codependent, relationship. Now, I'm not at all putting down. I think religions are great, but I also think that you've got to take the statements of belief and you've got to make them. Make them your own.
and make them authentic to you. And I would hope with any true spiritual practice that it actually starts you by encouraging a move towards authenticity, and that begins with accepting where you are now.
Right.
Right. I mean, it reminds me of the 12 steps, right?
Absolutely.
Which is, at the end, the idea is to have a spiritual awakening. And the beginning is to say, to admit, right, that this is where I am and to accept where I am, because only then can you begin to move towards true authenticity.
Right. Yeah, and an example would be I say yes to others when I disagree, or I sacrifice my true self just to get approval. And again, just to stick with the religion point of view, I grew up Catholic. I've chosen to remain Catholic, but there are a lot of times I disagree with priests and bishops and cardinals. And even sometimes with what a pope says.
Sure.
And, that's, if they don't like that, they're just going to have to go find a way to deal with it. Because, I've taken what I got taught, which was rich and
Right.
good, but I've put it under the light, and there's some of it that just doesn't make any sense to me. So, okay, no. Me and God going to have to work that out between ourselves.
Well, you're actually giving a good model, right? Because you're allowed to disagree and stay in relationship with.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And in a healthy, interdependent relationship, there's plenty of room for disagreement
Right.
while maintaining connection and the relationship.
Yeah, maybe you need to go tell Congress that. Maybe you need to tell the Republicans and Democrats that. They don't know that yet.
You started this segment by saying not everybody is codependent, but I think it's a pretty prevalent, obviously. At least it's prevalent in the collective consciousness at the moment. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think we're wrestling with it.
And that's why we're doing programs
Yeah.
like this. Because, again, the fear of rejection is a fear-driven habit,
Yes.
which can only hinder relationships, can only hinder personal growth, and creating excessive dependence
Yeah.
on other people for approval, for you being safe. Well, that's codependent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, often begins in childhood, right?
Yep.
I mean, because it's an easy entry point, because you are dependent as a child
Oh, no doubt.
upon the adults, whoever the adults are around you that are in your you're in the care of, right?
That you can't, you can't fend for yourself,
And-
you can't feed yourself, you depend on your parents or caregivers to care for you.
And if those caregivers aren't emotionally attuned with you, you can begin to sense that, well, my emotions or my thoughts are in conflict with my safety, right? And so you begin to shove those down in order to get your other needs met. Right. And so knowing that hopefully can give you some grace for yourself to see, okay, well, that's where it started. And now I'm in a place where I'm no longer literally dependent upon anybody for my survival.
Right.
And so how can I begin to adjust for that?
Another example of codependent relationships is I have difficulty being alone, not codependency relationship, but the codependency itself. If I have difficulty being alone. So individuals with codependency often are going to have difficulties being by themselves, and it's due to this deep-seated fear of abandonment.
Right.
And over time, this reliance on others for who I am, my sense of identity, or how much I'm worth, my self-worth. And identity and self-worth are some of what makes us most human, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is the core of who we are.
It distinguishes us from the rest of the animal kingdom because we, I don't know, maybe coyotes know who they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can't really say that. I don't know that we can say.
No, but we can see the packed behavior of certain species. We can see the instinct kicking in.
But we could see that arguably. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. We could see that in groups of humans as well.
We can
when we begin to zoom out and watch.
I think that's
group
right.
behavior. So I don't know that we can say that we know that for sure.
Okay, well,
But
I'll acquiesce to you.
But I do agree that our sense of identity and self-worth is core to who we are and what we bring and can contribute to the world as humans as we know it.
So if you have a difficulty being alone, you have a problem being alone, it may cause you to very consistently seek out distractions or seek out company to avoid being alone because you can't deal or you fear feelings of emptiness. In other words, again, back to the primary relationship that all of us have is the relationship with ourselves. And so if we don't give ourselves the time and ability to get to know ourselves fully, then
how can we ever love?
How can you ever, truly love yourself and want to be totally and completely with you? Yeah.
And so if silence feels like a loss instead of rest, that's the key. If you find yourself sitting around and not knowing what to do without another, or waiting, or feeling like something is wrong, that should be a little alarm going off in your head saying, obviously I depend more on this person in this relationship than I perhaps thought or was aware of. And so how can I begin to build the relationship with myself in a more stable, healthy way?
Again, balance. Nothing wrong, and certainly it's healthy to be in relationships with others.
Right.
But you also, again, balance. You want to develop that relationship with the self. And as you've pointed out, most of us don't start out that way.
Yeah.
We start out dependent upon our parents and caregivers, and then we have to develop that. We have to grow that.
In a healthy upbringing, you're able to do that and
Right.
have good models and co-regulators to
Absolutely.
ship you off.
Talking about examples of codependency today here on Strategies for a Living. We've got more. Stay with us.
We all have have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies, strategies, strategies for living radio.
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living Radio. You know, you may have tuned in because of the way we listen to radio. You may have tuned in and caught some of today's program, and you want the whole thing. Understandable, and we've got a solution for you, and that is we're in podcast.
That's right.
So all you have to do is go to wherever you get your favorite podcast. And that could be Apple, it could be Spotify, it could be
Castbox,
iHeart,
Pandora.
any of them. I mean, all the major platforms we've tried to cover. And put in the search "Strategies for Living." We should come up and subscribe. And then you don't ever have to miss a program. Yeah.
All the time you want.
Yep.
All the strategies.
There you go. There you go. Today we're talking about behaviors of codependency, so helping us identify whether we're acting codependently or if there's a person who has codependency in our life. And, it's certainly, even though it's not an official psychological diagnosis, it's been identified as an issue and a problem that can block people in relationship with themselves and others. So it's something that we really want to attune to.
Absolutely.
Right? So we've mentioned this one already, but it deserves some massaging here, and that's enabling behavior. Because a person with codependency engages oftentimes in enabling behavior by inadvertently supporting or maintaining harmful behaviors of a loved one. And you pointed out the more often that's done in addictive, relationship.
Yeah, but it can be done in any relationship.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I think the key here is that the person often does not recognize or is not aware, right? They're not coming from a place of, I want to make your unhealthy behavior worse. But rather, it often comes from a place of thinking, well, I want to protect you, right?
Yeah. So you cover up your partner's mistakes, or you rescue them from the repercussions of their
consequences,
actions.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you notice that you are, it's really about confusing, I want to help you, but you're confusing that with preventing growth.
Right. And enabling behaviors, they're well-intentioned, but they, as you say, they prevent someone from really growing. I want to give a shout out to Al-Anon, because Al-Anon, which came off of AA, but you don't have to be in relationship with a person that is alcoholic or drug addicted to go. Anyone's invited to go to Al-Anon, and they do a wonderful job of helping with codependence in general, but in particular enabling behaviors. They do a wonderful job of that. Another thing, and we've mentioned this briefly at the beginning, avoidance of conflict. So individuals with codependency are going to sometimes run from conflict to maintain harmony, because what they're doing is they're avoiding potential rejection, and yet sometimes we need a little bit of disharmony, a little bit of friction to grow.
Right. Well, and it's important that you maintain that sense of, well, this is who I am in the relationship, right?
Yeah.
When it becomes you're suppressing your own needs to keep the peace, that's when it becomes an issue.
Right.
When peacekeeping becomes a way of erasing yourself.
Yep.
Right? Because often that's going to show up internally in resentment, right? Or some sort of emotional build-up because you're not sharing fully who you are. You're not being able to express who you are to the fullest.
And that kind of melds into another example that I would put on this list, which is difficulty setting boundaries. We talk a lot about boundaries here on strategies because they're so important. But individuals with codependency often find it very difficult to set boundaries and to maintain healthy boundaries with other people. And it can lead to a feeling that I'm overwhelmed or I'm being taken advantage of or something that the other person or group doesn't mean to do at all, you know? So an example would be you find it challenging to say no to, when your boss or person above you asks you to take some additional responsibilities at work, even when you're already overwhelmed because you're afraid of disappointing somebody.
Right.
But there is a time and a healthy time and a place to set boundaries, right?
Yeah, because I think this kind of reflects back to some of the other behaviors in that it's also got an underlying fear of rejection or abandonment. Right. Or perhaps even a fear of being perceived as selfish.
Right. Another example would be people who have control issues. So people with codependency often experience difficulties with subtle control issues, like seeking kind of covertly to manage everybody and everything around them.
So I would argue that all of the other behaviors we've already talked about are actually this one as well.
Okay, so you're saying this one kind of summarizes all of those others.
I think it's
that we've
underlying
been talking.
because I don't think people realize how much even like the people pleasing, right? That's a form of control. Yeah. Because you're attempting to control somebody else's view of you, right? The enabling, right? You're attempting to control someone else's behaviors and their reaction towards you.
So I'll give you an example. If you're in a marriage or a relationship, an intimate relationship or partnership, do you find yourself constantly checking your partner's phone or figuring out through some means like that who they're spending time with other than you? That intense need for control could stem from a fear that if you let go of that control, it might jeopardize the stability of the relationship. Yeah. Last but not least, and we've kind of danced all around this one, but the lack of personal identity. Okay, so people experiencing codependency, we've already said, they often lack this strong sense of self, frequently defining themselves through the relationships they're in.
Right. So your identity becomes, well, I'm the helper, or I'm the fixer,
or I'm part of this group,
right? Or
I'm married to so-and-so, right?
Yeah.
Again, all of that is, subtle stuff, but it's
important that you reclaim your core identity.
Absolutely. The world, each and every person listening to us is miraculous. Mm-hmm. Each and every person listening to us right now is a powerful, powerful being that the world needs. And it doesn't matter how small, but the world needs you.
Absolutely.
And so if you're not
as you are,
being yourself. And so codependency can block that. Hope this has helped. And we'll be back to wrap up here on Strategies for Living. Don't go away. And welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, and we've been talking today about codependency, helping us all kind of get our arms around it because it's one of those.
It's going to take some doing.
Yeah, it's one of those words that maybe has become overused sometimes. But we've tried to give some examples today of what to look for. And so what's your takeaway, Lauren, from what we've presented and offered today? to all of us.
I think a summary of what codependency is and can look like, and a reminder perhaps, is that real love isn't going to require you to disappear. It invites you as yourself into relationship.
It invites you to be who you are, really.
Right.
Who
And
you are.
actually, in a very healthy and loving relationship, it invites you to be and become more of who you really are.
Absolutely.
And so if you recognize any of these signs, don't see it as a failure, but use it for your awareness, and maybe ask yourself, where can I stop over functioning? How can I begin to know who I am better and to value that relationship so I can bring more of me into every other relationship that I have?
Absolutely. There's a lot of good material out there on codependency. Lots of counselors and life coaches and folks like that may be able to help you. And again, Al-Anon,
Yes.
great resource. Folks, thank you for tuning into Strategies for Living. We appreciate you, and we appreciate our sponsors who make it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX. We train your brain. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, Alligator Italian Sausage, pretty good muffies too, SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who is it that you'd call? What is it that you'd say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillian, I'm David McMillian. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.